Ciao ragazzi, and I know we started the video pretty much in the same way of yesterday, trailer plus Chongyun in the same position like where I normally do my wishes, but you saw from the trailer how lucky I was, and we managed to bring home both Staff of Homa and Wolf of Gravestone. With not a lot of pull, I got super lucky, super happy. I didn't really expect this, so I said why not start with the same way, and if it seems it will bring more luck for the next wishes, let's just do it. So guys, I promised you of course to compare all the different weapons, especially the new Lithic series is out. So what I'm gonna do, since we have a lot to talk about actually, I will divide this video in two parts. The first part we're gonna talk about the Claimer, and it's gonna go live now. And the second part I'm gonna talk about all the spears, and we'll go live tomorrow or maybe tomorrow. So let's just see how it goes, and I will say maximum in the next 2-3 days you will know if it's really worth it to wish in this manner. So I hope you will be a little bit patient, and at the same time guys, I got again super lucky, but we know how much it's hard to get the correct weapon and what we want, especially in the weapon banner. So be patient, and let's just start with the video. I will talk about the Claimer today. We're gonna have a lot of numbers. I will try to make it as simple as I can. So let's go. So guys, before we're gonna talk about all these different numbers, I just wanna show you which kind of character we will use in the party, and also which kind of artifact we will use. So we know that every time we're switching the weapon, they always gonna be the same. So about artifact, we're gonna use 4 pieces of Gladiator Finale or Finale, and so 2 pieces will grant you a 18% boost attack, and the 4 pieces normal attack 35% since we have a Claymore user. So I know they're not, as you can see, we also have some 4-star, 16 is the maximum we can reach. Here we have a 20. Here we're gonna focus on physical damage only. We don't wanna take any advantage of any electro, or I will show you in a second, cryo bonus. And here we will have attack percent. So as you can see guys, every artifact there maximum I can take it 16 or 20, but again it's not about having a perfect build at the moment, but it's compare all the weapons. About character, we will use Zhongli, Ganyu, Chi-Chi and Chongyun. We are gonna switch our main DPS between Chongyun and Razor. I will say why in a couple of seconds. And as you can see, Chongyun doesn't have any artifact because we'll get the same artifact as Razor. The reason why we are using this particular team guys is about the weapon we're gonna test. So for example, if you're talking about the Lithic Blade, for every character in the party who heals from Liyue, so we know that Chi-Chi, Chongyun, Ganyu and Zhongli come from Liyue. The character who keeps this weapon gains an 8% attack increase and a 4% critical rate increase. So at the moment, as you can see, my Lithic Blade is already rank 2, but I tested before rank 1 and also rank 2 for see the different. This effect stacks up to 4 times. So of course guys, we're gonna try this particular team. So we have 4 characters from Liyue, and we don't have any, since we're also gonna focus on physical damage. In this case we will not have any super conduct help. After, what we're gonna do, we're gonna try with Razor, so we have a super conduct health, and at the same time we're gonna wield the same weapon, but we're gonna get our, like I will say, bonus just up to 3 because Razor doesn't come from Liyue. So I think it's pretty interesting, test it out. If it's super conduct, I will say it's more stronger than passive talent, plus a lot of things we're gonna talk about in a second. So that's the character guys, that's the artifact. So let's just go talk about the numbers. The challenge I choose, guys, for testing all these different weapons is to go to our friend GeoBishop, the big new boss. Over there we're gonna bring two different teams, the one with Chongyun, so we will not have any superconductor reaction, and the second one is with Razor with some soup. First weapon here, guys, is the Wolf of Gravestone. So with the Chongyun team, so no superconductor, the amount of time it took for killing the boss is between 1.46 and 1.51, so 1 minute and 51 seconds. The reason why I put both is because I try around 3 to 4 times every time, and so sorry for the playing with the word time, but in this way I try to be as precise as I can for give you the right time. The maximum amount of damage to be dealt with one single hit was 76 and 33, and unfortunately, as you can see, my Wolf of Gravestone is just level 70. So for the sake of the video, I think that's make things even more interesting, because we can see how a level 70 maybe will be better or not than a level 80 or 90, but at the same time I'm a little bit sad because to be honest, I didn't expect to get either both Wolf of Gravestone or Staff of Homa, so I didn't have enough resources to bring both to level 90. So, talking about Razor team with the Superconduct, here we have a time much more lower, 1.30 and 1.35, and a maximum amount of damage for one hit is insanely bigger than the first one, 11,036. So we can see how Superconductor really in our test start playing a very big role. Next weapon we test, guys, Serpent Spine. We got a time between 206 and 210, maximum amount of damage 7663. So in this case I already have a Serpent Spine level 80, so I was able to compare this to the same amount of level of the other three weapons I will show you in a second, and it's not bad. With Superconduct here we can see the big difference again, 1.31, 1.35, and the maximum amount of damage 8408. So remember, guys, the Serpent Spine has a substats critical rate. So in this case the fight was more consistent, I would say. I got critical rate damage more consistent than the other one, and of course I didn't have this boost of attack percent, so the maximum amount of damage I dealt was less. Next weapon, guys, Prototype Archaic, attack percentage as a substats and the time between 1.42 and 1.45. Maximum amount of damage 8556. And as I said before, we were able to compare this weapon at level 80 as well. With Superconduct, Razor team, Prototype Archaic again, of course, 1.36, 1.38, much more lower, and maximum amount of damage pretty close in this case, 8884, of course level 80 again. Next weapon, and the one I was most interesting about and waiting for the result, is the Lithic Blade. So as you can see here, we have a little bit more numbers than before. The number 4 close to the Lithic Blade is regarding the passive skills. So as we talked about before, when you have 4 character from Liyue, you will have a different amount of critical rate and attack percentage on your main DPS who is using the Lithic Blade. So in the first team with no Superconduct and Chongyun, all the 4 characters came from Liyue. The time we got is 2.08, 2.12, and the maximum amount of damage was very low compared to the other, 5706. Even here we got at level 8. With Superconduct, and here we can see again a big difference, and we can see also how Superconduct, it's much more powerful than a passive talent. The Lithic Blade here with Razor has just 3 characters from Liyue. The time we got is much more lower, 1.48 to 1.52, and the maximum amount of damage is almost the double, 10792. Of course also level 80. And I didn't stop here, guys, because I got lucky with my pull. So I was able to bring my Lithic Blade to rank refinement 2. So of course we had to test it. Level 90 instead of level 80, so I said why not bring it to the best we can. For character, Chongyun as a main DPS, no superconduct, 1.42, 1.44 is the time, and the maximum amount of damage is 7702, so already a big difference from before. And with superconduct and razor, our Lithic Blade so has just 3 characters from Liwe, time 136, 138, and an insane amount of damage, 15260. So you can see the difference between 2 with superconduct and not, it's already insane. And also compared to refine rank 1 and go to 2, it's already a huge difference. So that makes us realize already another conclusion about, so the first one was superconduct is much more powerful than no reaction. So we know already that a passive talent cannot go, even if it's this amazing, and I assure you it's amazing, cannot go over any elemental skill reaction. Can be superconduct, can be melt, can be vaporized. So that's the first conclusion. The second one, guys, and the one I was mostly scared about is, of course, we know that all the weapon in the game, the more you have it like a refiner high, the more the better it's gonna be. But since you have such a huge passive talent, here the difference you will have, it's huge. Looks like it's not really worth it to go for this banner and have this limited time edition weapon if you already have, for example, a Serpent Spine. Last part of the video, guys, we're gonna compare the Wolf of Gravestone, which is known as the best claymore for your main DPS, where they talk about timing and max damage, to the 2 weapons who they got the less time and maximum amount of damage on her category. So here we have the Lithic Blade and the Serpent Spine. So during all the data and the maths I did, here we have the Lithic Blade got the higher maximum amount of damage and less time without superconduct, so Chongyun team, and of course it's the refined to Lithic Blade. And surprisingly, but at the same time we know how much critical rate is important also with critical damage, the Serpent Spine got the best result with superconduct, because the time compared to the other, especially the Lithic Blade 3 pieces and refine rank 2 was pretty similar, and even if the maximum amount of damage was much less, it was especially more consistent. So at the same time, guys, here we have another conclusion, is definitely better to have nice stats, nice elemental reaction, and go have a character who can deal damage more consistently with a nice ratio of 1 to 2 critical rate and critical damage, than having a huge and amazing passive skill. So guys, we can summarize pretty quickly before ending the video. What we learned: first, superconduct or any other elemental reaction in the game, such as melt or vaporize, they're going to be much more powerful than a passive talent, even amazing as this one with the Lithic Blade series. Second, having a higher rank weapon than 1, like the other in Genshin Impact, of course we know is better. But for really feel the difference with this Lithic Blade weapon, and really feel the power, and want maybe a refined rank 5, we're gonna end up discussing about this primal gem and wishes we already talked about so many times. If you want to spend everything there, if you want to spend money, if you want to do it just for having refined rank 5, just do it. And I hope you get really lucky, in the first 20-30 pull right away. But at the same time, if you already have other weapon like a Serpent Spine or like a prototype, and you have just a refined rank 1 Lithic Blade, of course it's a good extra weapon, extra claymore, but you're not gonna feel different compared to the other weapon 4-star you already have. Third things, guys, as we saw Serpent Spine in the superconduct, area, it's much better than a Lithic Blade. Why? Because having a good ratio of critical rate and critical damage 1 to 2, all the substats you will have on your character with artifact and weapon, they are much more important than your passive talent. And in this case, we talk about the Lithic passive skills. So having a team who is much more consistent of doing crit, even if the maximum amount of damage you will deal is much less, you will be able to defeat the enemy in a faster way and without any problem. Last things we can quickly take a look, guys, is of course 5-star weapon are better than 4-star. And I know maybe it seems this like pretty obvious, but as you see, guys, my level 70 Wolf of Gravestone compared to the other level 19 and 80, if you look at the number, time and maximum amount of damage, it's super close to the other. So if you have a Wolf of Gravestone and maybe you already have a 4-star weapon, or you pull for those weapons and you got really lucky and you got the Wolf of Gravestone, of course, again, it's pretty obvious, but don't spend the resources in other weapon, even if the passive talent is great, or maybe the critical rate is great and maybe better than attack percentage in the Wolf of Gravestone. But we already noticed that with all this data we have here, the 5-star weapon is much better than a 4-star, even at lower level. So level 70, I would say, especially if you scale the damage when you arrive at level 80 or 90, will be definitely much better than a level 90 4-star weapon. I know, guys, was a lot of number. I'm sorry. I hope that you're still with me and I didn't make it like super boring. But again, I think this was pretty interesting, and at the same time was the easiest way to compare all the weapon and give you some significant, like I would say, data for you to think about this weapon and think about this banner. So guys, I remind you also that tomorrow we're gonna have pretty much the same things with the spear. We're gonna talk about the Lithic spear, so make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video if you like it, and stay tuned here because we're gonna talk about the spear, new weapon, and everything is gonna happen in the next week in Genshin Impact. I'll see you soon. Thank you so much. Ciao, ciao.